Sixers Fix with Scott Ninnis. Join one of the Adelaide 36ers' favourite sons as we deep dive into everything past and present about one of the most storied franchises in the NBL. It's Sixers Fix, your Adelaide 36ers podcast.
Here we go!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sixers Fix with Scott Ninnis, and this is a big show. We'll have our Ask the Coach segment thanks to Sports Card World with Connor Henry, and it's a big one. We haven't been able to catch up with Connor for a couple of weeks, so we've made up for lost time. On this week's show, we've got a very special guest with an all-time great who doubles as a current superstar right now, who we will speak to on the show. We're coming off a win, so that gives us a bit of an extra pep in our step here when we're talking about the Adelaide 36ers. And we're on the eve of the Perth Wildcats coming to town as well, which is always an eventful occasion. So plenty to get through on the show. I'm Chris Pike, your co-host, but the man you've all tuned in to hear from, the living legend himself, the only man involved in every NBL championship the Adelaide 36ers have won, Scott Ninnis. How do we find you this week?
Well, obviously I'm pumped, mate. Like we're coming off a win. We haven't been able to say that for a few weeks. Every week we talk about, hopefully next week we'll talk about coming off a win, but we finally got one. And we were at the game on last Saturday night, and it was a fantastic game. You know, like the team came out, played well. We went through what we've seen over the last few weeks and had that that problem quarter where we just the scoring just dries up, but we're able to weather that storm and get a win. And for the psyche of the team, it was so important. And just really happy for the boys to get that win, which hopefully now will lead on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot to like about that win. 84-72 against the Illawarra Hawks. It was a good win, just an important win. It was a 5-game losing streak that nobody was enjoying, so it was nice to bring that to an end, and it gives us plenty to talk about now on this week's show. So we're here right now thanks to All Star Photos, thanks to Kelly Barnes and his support. We'll have an update on our Player of the Year award thanks to Premium Wine Tours. We'll have a Player of the Week award to give away thanks to Australian Motors Mitsubishi. And as I said off the top of the show, thanks to Sports Card World, we'll catch up with Connor Henry in our Ask the Coach segment. And we've also got a special guest, Scott. And how much are you looking forward to having a chat to this fella?
Oh, look, he is incredible. He's a bit of a gentle giant. Doesn't do a lot of media stuff. So to get him on the show, I'm really looking forward to it and become one of the club's all-time greats.
Yeah, Daniel Johnson, of course, we're talking about. So we're looking forward to getting to him shortly here on the show. Bit of news around the club as well this week. Scott, why don't we knock that off right from the top? Ben Kavanagh, the chief executive of the 36ers, one of our great supporters here of Sixers Fix, a great supporter of mine to get me on board to do some work with the club as well in terms of writing some articles, and a great supporter of yours and Brett's to get you involved in your community coaching. A little bit disappointing to see him resign during the week.
It is, mate. Ben was instrumental in getting Brett and myself back in the club, and has been a fantastic supporter of us, with the holiday camps, the school clinics, and it's disappointing. I guess as one chapter closes, another one opens, but I'm really disappointed personally to see him not being involved with the club. As I said, he's been really ardent supporter of what Brett and I have been doing, and the one who got us back involved. And it's a sad day, mate. It'd be disappointing to see him go.
Yeah, I agree. He's been, like I said, he's been a great supporter of mine as well, and I don't think we would have been doing this podcast without his support either. So he's had a big influence, and I think he's done a terrific job the last couple of years in the chair there at the Sixers. So all the best to Ben, and I know he's going to be listening because he's been a big listener of our show as well. So I hope we can maintain him as a listener, and I know he's going to continue to be a 36ers fan moving forward as well. But Scott, so the win over the Hawks. I guess you can look at the players that the Hawks were missing. Tyler Harvey not playing certainly helped the 36ers cause because he makes a lot of things happen, and Cam Bairstow didn't play either. But equally, Isaac Humphries and Tony Crocker not being there for the 36ers are pretty influential pieces as well. So I don't want to take anything away from the performance. The third quarter wasn't fantastic, but for 3 quarters, it was a It was a really encouraging performance. I think, you were sitting there courtside. I think a lot of the home fans would have been pretty happy with what they saw.
Oh, absolutely, and it was there was a different mindset and mentality of the way they attacked that game, and we saw Brandon Poole start. We knew that was going to happen. Regardless of whether Tony Crocker was playing or not, and he didn't have his best game, but I think what they did right from the start is, defensively from the Illawarra's point of view, you have to target him and make him a real key as a guy to shut down. Having Josh Giddey back into the lineup and is a triple double in waiting. It's we felt right from the start of the game that was probably going to happen in that game. Being at home too is a huge opportunity. But like Harvey out. Yeah, that happens. I mean, that's, we've suffered from injuries here. We spoke about this last week that, before you told me that he was going to be out of the game, that I thought he was going to be a real problem for us. But that's just part of the game, and we see this week in, week out. It's just, I don't know what's happening at the moment, but, we're seeing players succumb to injury and long-term injury, and we've seen two over these last few week or so with Vasiljevic and Jack White, and that's just they're tragic, and it's I just think it probably is one of those things. And it's so disappointing to see. But I guess my point is that injuries are part of the game. That's what it is, and it's how you respond to that and how you react to that. And people that are now getting the opportunities to step up, the ones that are going to have the opportunity to do something really special, and hopefully, what we've seen here, and Isaac Humphries is still out, and it looks like Crocker's probably going to be out tomorrow night against Perth as well. So, once again, players are going to get the opportunity. Hopefully we crack that code about how to beat the Perth Wildcats, and why not go in with confidence? You're at home. You've already shown that you can match it with them. Well, not only match it with them, but at your best you can dominate them too. But we know it's not quite that easy. But they're coming off a game last night. They're on the road. Their second game in 3 days. Throw it out there and let's see what happens.
Now, Keanu Pinder's been a bit of a whipping boy for some of the 36ers fans so far this season, and I don't want to say too much, but probably rightfully so in some ways. He hasn't met expectations, but I saw some really good signs in that game against the Hawks, especially the way he attacked the offensive glass, and some of those offensive rebounds were actually really important to turn the tide back in the 36ers' favour late in that third quarter. I thought that was probably his most encouraging performance that we've seen.
Oh, there's no question about it. I think what we saw from him this last game is what probably we expected right from day one. The block shot, the tip dunk, the three offensive rebounds, which, as you said, were really key. We saw his athleticism and the way that he can impact the game and change shots and be a presence on the offensive boards. And I was really happy for him. Like, it was just we needed that, and as we've talked about over the weeks, we need all our players playing well, especially when you've got injuries. If you've got a couple of passengers, then you're not going to put yourself in a position to win games. But, when everyone turns up and is contributing, we can be a pretty good team. Well, we can be a very good team. And Keanu was, he was. It was exciting to see what he did. I mean, statistically, it's 10 points and 3 or 4 rebounds and a block. It doesn't look outstanding, but if we can get that sort of contribution from him, as well as that sort of energy and effort.
I guess the other thing that stood out was there was none of the mistakes that he was making either. There didn't seem to be any silly fouls. He didn't take any bad shots, and that was the other thing that was nice about his game.
Absolutely, and that's I was going to get to that too. Like, no stupid fouls.
Yep.
No bad shots. He just played to his strengths, and I was, as I said, I was really, really happy for him. It was and it was a really important contributor to our win.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned Brandon Poole, and he didn't have his best game, but It's going to help him enormously to have started, to have got 31 minutes under his belt, just to get out there and take 13 shots. He's going to shoot the ball better and play better, but I think it was important for him to get that run into his legs. Sunday Detch had another terrific all-round game, and his defensive intensity sets the tone. Jack McVeigh coming off the bench was really handy as well, and then as you said, Josh Giddey almost another triple-double. There was a lot of guys contributing, and then our guest on the show this week, Daniel Johnson, just led from the front. He just continued to attack the basket, just kept getting fouled, and 26 points and 15 rebounds in the end. And I feel like we take that for granted from DJ. If anyone else in the league's doing that, we're talking about what a monster performance it is. But if it's DJ, it's almost just expected.
Absolutely, mate. He turned 33 during the day of that game.
It was his birthday.
And has 26 points and 15 rebounds, and we take it for granted. And all these idiots I see on social media that say, we'd be better off without him.
Oh, wow.
The 36ers over the last 10 years without Daniel Johnson is probably a bottom place team. He is one of, you look at him and you at times, defensively he has his lapses. He's led the league in rebounding twice.
Yep.
People criticise him for not rebounding. He's led the league in rebounding twice.
Yeah.
He scores 20 points every game, but his demeanour, sometimes he comes across as being a bit laconic, but we are very, very lucky to have him in this team. Let's just hope, we can have him, and I'm sure we will have 2 or 3 years later. Like, he's durable, he doesn't get hurt, he plays, and he's a great cornerstone for this team. Because he's not probably that that leader that we've seen over the years with the Mark Davises and the Brett Mahers and these sort of people, should not diminish from what he's done in the 36er uniform. And 26 of 15 on his 33rd birthday. But like you said, we just take it for granted. And when he does have a poor game, which very rarely happens, people line up to criticise, and I think some of those people should, basically go to the House of Mirrors and have a good hard look at themselves. Because we're fortunate that he's plying our trade here in front of our eyes.
Yeah, and I can't wait to talk to him on this week's show as well. So we'll get to him very shortly. Another player I wanted to mention, his numbers don't stand out, and he's probably not getting a lot of attention. But since he's come back from his injury and since he's been playing a few minutes, I really like what Daniel Dillon's doing out there right now. He's just that calming influence. He takes care of the ball well. He gets the team through their offense nicely to take the pressure off Josh Giddey. He almost played 20 minutes last week, and I actually like the steadying influence that he's providing.
He's had a good couple of weeks, hasn't he?
Yeah.
You're right. I like the fact of having that other ball handler on the court with Josh, and we saw it with Jeremy Kendall when he was in the team. But Dan's he's a pro. Like, he's 34 years old and has been playing the game for a long time. He knows how to look after his body. He knows what it takes. He doesn't try and do things he can't do on the court. I've been really pleased that he's got an opportunity, and moving forward, once again he will get an opportunity again on Saturday night against Perth. From a personal point of view, and I always say this because I don't see the team on a day-to-day basis. I'd rather see Bryce Cotton being chased around by Daniel Dillon and Brendan Tees and Majonra and these guys rather than a Brandon Paul. And I know that probably none of those guys will be starting, but put Paul on him for the first couple of minutes till you bring those subbers in. Those guys have all got 5 fouls each. Wear
him down.
Wear him down, because no one's going to stop him. We've seen that. We've seen that forever. He's going to get his regardless. But if you make him wear that down over you make him wear all those, you do the hard fouls, you bump him, you make him work hard, and then you don't let the Steindls and some of these guys get in the game, it's going to go a long way to winning the game for us. So, I've been really happy for Dan. He's a quality guy. We really enjoyed working with him, what we're doing off the court, and he'll get his opportunity again, and who knows where that takes.
Now, let's update our Player of the Year award thanks to Premium Wine Tours. The round 12 votes against the Illawarra Hawks. Obviously, these votes coming from yourself and Brett Maher, Scott. And so 3 votes Daniel Johnson. I think that was a no-brainer. Probably a no-brainer for Josh Giddey as well for the 2. And then there was probably a few different guys that could have gone for the 1 vote, which is a good sign to have that many contributors. But Sunday Detch, pretty hard to ignore his performance once again. So that means the leaderboard, we got Daniel Johnson out on front on 39 votes. Josh Giddey in the second spot on 27. Isaac Humphrey still in third on 20. And Sunday Detch closing that gap a little bit, staying in touch on 15. Jack McVeigh's on 8. Tony Crocker's on 6. And Brandon Paul on 4. Now, with 15 games to go still, any of those guys can still win. That means any of those guys can still win that tour for 4, thanks to Premium Mind Tours, Scott.
I can't believe there's still 15 games to go. It feels like we should be starting talking about the playoffs. Yeah. It's just and I guess the length of the season is exaggerated by how long the pre-season was as well, because we're waiting for the start of the season. But look, I mean, it's going to be hard to catch. As long as DJ stays injury free, you would expect him to go on and win this award, and rightfully so if he can keep his body healthy, which he's shown that he always can.
Okay, Scott, it's now time for us to give away another one of our Australian Motors Mitsubishi prize packs. These are proving tremendously popular, and all you have to do is vote in our Player of the Week award. So head to our Sixers Fix pages on either Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and just cast your vote each and every week, and you go into the draw to win this special prize pack, thanks to the good guys at Australian Motors Mitsubishi. And this week, it was Daniel Johnson once again. 26 points and 15 rebounds is pretty tough to ignore. So that's what he delivered last week against the Illawarra Hawks. And our listeners here on Sixers Fix recognised him as the Player of the Week from the Adelaide 36ers. So now we've put all of you who voted into the hat. One of you will win this special prize pack from Australian Motors Mitsubishi. So here we go. And the lucky winner this week, thanks to Australian Motors Mitsubishi, is Wendy Mainwaring. Now, I don't know if you're a relation. Isaac Mainwaring was the winner last week on this award. This week is Wendy Mainwaring. We'll get in touch during the week and we'll get you that prize pack. Thanks once again to Australian Motors Mitsubishi.
Yeah, I just want to touch on back to the Illawarra game. In that third quarter, we were on the wrong end of a 19-3 run.
Yes.
And there was a timeout called, and we looked up, and it was called by Brian Gorgon. And everyone looked at each other thinking we'd called the timeout because Connor would have had to burn his second one in that quarter. And it completely changed the complexion of that game.
It allowed the Sixers to settle down, didn't it?
Yeah, and once again, this is, don't get me wrong, this is no criticism of Brian Gorgon. I mean, he's he's doyen of coaches, and helped gave me my greatest memory in basketball and turned me into the player that I was. But it really did change the momentum, and the feedback that we got was he thought his players were just in desperate need of a rest. But boy, oh boy, that gave us a chance to just arrest that landslide that we've seen.
Well, at that time, I was thinking very similar things to what I was thinking about that Perth game at the NBL Cup, and I'm sure that crossed your mind too. Yeah,
it did, and once again, I caught up briefly with Brian as we walked off the court, and it was great to say good day. And I haven't spoken to him for many years. We haven't been in Australia for many years, so he's one of my mentors from a playing point of view. And but yeah, that time out definitely helped us. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you did get a chance to catch up with him, but it'd be incredible if you were able to sort of catch up with him next time they come to Adelaide. I think they're still scheduled to have one more trip to Adelaide this season. It'd be amazing if you could sit down and catch up with him.
We'll definitely get him on the podcast, mate.
Yeah.
I reckon that podcast might go for about 3 hours because he's the sort of guy you just sit back and you can listen to.
Absolutely.
The stories that he says, and back in the day when him and Bruce Palmer, used to coach against each other, were best mates. You'd go out with those two, and you just sit back. It was like a comedy duo. They were incredible to listen to. But no, we'll definitely try and get him on the podcast at some stage. It'll be a fascinating interview.
Absolutely. Now, a man who doesn't quite have the same storytelling ability as Daniel Johnson, but he's a fantastic player. And what he does say, he means. He considers everything he says, and I think he's got a bit more character about him than people give him credit for. So I'm really looking forward to having him on the show now on Sixers Fix for the first time. So, Scott, when we come back, we'll be joined by the one and only Daniel Johnson.
Yeah, can't wait, mate. Looking forward to it.
Okay, Scott, a great honour for us now to be joined by probably the interview we've been waiting 2 years for since we started the show here with Sixers Fix, to speak to the legend himself, Daniel Johnson. What a career he's built now since he's arrived at the 36ers. He, without question, is one of the all-time greats of the 36ers, already a 5-time club MVP. Hard to imagine that not becoming 6th this season. And what an amazing form stretch he's in right now. He's the captain of the team. He continues to lead from the front. It's a great honour for us to have him here on the show. DJ, how do we find you this week? Having had a week at home to prepare to now take on the Perth Wildcats on Saturday night after that win over the Hawks last week.
Yeah, we're going all right. Obviously, good win last weekend. It's kind of got us back on track. So, yeah, we're hoping we can keep that form going and hopefully get a few guys back soon as well, which will help with that as well.
Sorry, Scott, just quickly. Pretty rare right now to, I guess, have a week at home. You played last week and had a good win over the Hawks, and you've had a full week preparation at home to get ready for Perth.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty difficult this year. We've had, really fortunate in the first little bit to have all those home games, but then since then we've had a bit of a rough schedule, obviously in the hub, and then a couple of weekends away. So yeah, we're just trying to enjoy the time at home now and make the most of it. Hopefully get another home win, and that'll help us with these road trips coming up.
Now, DJ, what a lot of people don't realise is that you and I have quite a lot in common. We both wore 21 for the 36ers. We've both been most improved players of the NBL. And we both played for the South Adelaide Panthers. Now, the only differences is you wore the 21. I wore it for the last 2 years of my career, probably not my best years of all time. I won the most improved player 19 years before you did, and you played for South Adelaide for 1 year, and I played for about 25 years. But apart from that, also a lot of similarities. Mate, how is the team going at the moment? I mean, that was a huge win last week. We got one of those road bumps in the third quarter that we've been experiencing, but then to withstand that and go on to win that game must give the boys a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I think so. Like we touched on, we just keep having these quarters where offensively we just really dry up and we can't get much going. I think Josh coming back in really helped with that. Shows his maturity as well. I think he's learning as the season progresses, and he really helped us, get through some things and get some guys the ball. It was a good win for the club. Obviously, them not having Harvey out helped a lot for us. But, a win's a win. We'll take it, that's for sure. But, like I said, we're just trying to kind of build some momentum now. We've still got a lot of games left, and hopefully Big Ice will be back soon, which is going to help us a lot, as we know.
And, mate, this will happen on your 33rd birthday. By 33, most people are getting put out to pasture from a sporting sense. But, I think it's just incredible, the consistency that you've shown, over your career. And you've been really durable as well. Is there anything special you do, like as far as looking after your body? I know as professional athletes, everybody does. But, what advice would you give to people going through to be able to play as long as you have and as well as what you have?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I do anything too different to what other people do. Like you said, it's just eating right, sleeping, looking after your body, just the usual stuff that I'm sure most professional athletes do. But I think I've just been, lucky with injuries, touch wood, to just kind of avoid them for most of my career and be able to, get out there pretty healthy and be able to put my best there. So yeah, I just think that's played a massive part in it. I think most guys will have some pretty big injuries throughout their career, and I've been lucky to dodge them thus far.
And Perth Wildcats Saturday night, mate. We've touched on it. They haven't just been a bogey team for us. They've been a bogey team for everybody for 30 odd years. But what adjustments do we need to make them to beat them tomorrow night? And specifically looking at Bryce Cotton, what's without giving too much away, obviously, mate. But what do we need to do to get a W tomorrow night?
I think the main areas we're focusing on is obviously trying to stop Bryce, or at least shut him down a little bit, get the ball out of his hands. And I think when we're in Perth last game, we kind of just got smashed on the rebounds. So it's just about boxing out, finishing possessions. It's been a bit of our Achilles heel this season. We haven't been very good at rebounding in any game. So those are the main things we're working on, and hopefully, we can come away with a big win.
Mate, I want to chat to you about, going back to the start. As a young boy growing up in Western Australia, was the dream always to play for the Wildcats? And then you ended up, obviously, at the Institute of Sport and then Melbourne before you found out your way to the 36ers. Was that sort of the dream growing up?
I mean, honestly, I didn't watch a lot of basketball growing up. I was probably the first person in my family to play basketball, and I honestly didn't know too much about it all. So I was just kind of learning as I was going, and really started to get into it and start watching it when I was at the institute, and when it all started to become serious that I was, had the potential to, play professionally. So, I guess the whole Wildcats thing, it wasn't really a dream growing up. Like, obviously you want to be around your family back home, but that never really eventuated. And then when I got to Adelaide, I just fell in love with the city straight away, and obviously met my wife here, and I was just really fortunate to find a place, to call home.
And you spent a year in college at Pepperdine. Was that how was that experience? Was it enjoyable? Was it just a stepping stone to the next spot? How did you find that?
It was interesting. I think most people at that time were going over just to do the college. Going to the NBL wasn't really for everyone. I think especially when you're at the institute, they were kind of encouraging guys to go over and experience the college and just see where you're at. So I was excited to do that. Once I got there, I realized it was a bit tougher than everyone says, with the studying and then the double practices. And we had a bit of, drama with our coach and a few of the players. And our coach actually quit mid-season. So it just turned into a bit of a waste of time, really. So, I was pretty fortunate as soon as I got back. When Melbourne reached out and wanted me over there pretty quickly, so it's a pretty smooth transition, thankfully. But I'm happy I did it. But it wasn't really, for me, I wouldn't say.
Tell us about when the 36ers came calling. How did that all come about? Obviously, you're with the Melbourne Tigers for a couple of years, and they always had great teams. How did that? Who was the main force behind recruiting you and getting you here to the 36ers?
Well, I think after my couple of years in Melbourne, like you said, they had some really strong teams, and I was playing behind Chris Hanst, who's probably the best big in the league at that time. So I wasn't getting a whole lot of minutes, and I guess they didn't really see me as a starter. And then Marty Clark, obviously, I was with him at the institute, and I felt like I really needed to, get in the gym and work and get better. And I knew he was the guy, to really help me with that, and hold me accountable and make sure I was in there every day doing what I needed to get better. So, it was a pretty easy decision. I had that previous relationship with him, and I knew he was going to be, make me work hard. So, it's pretty easy.
Well, I reckon it's worked out all right for you, mate. 7-time all-time All-NBL team member, including 3 All-NBL first team recognitions. Are you an Adelaide boy now? Is this where you see yourself settling after basketball? Will you head back to Perth, or is that not a consideration yet as to what that decision will be?
No, I think I'll be here now. I'm pretty settled. Like I said, my wife's from here, and she's got a pretty big family. So yeah, we're really happy here, and luckily it's not too far back to Perth. When I need to get back and visit family and stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, I'm just really lucky and fortunate that I found a place to call home.
Now, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but at the end of last season, we sat down with Brett Maher and we picked our all-time first and second 36ers teams. Now, is my memory correct, or did both myself and Brett have DJ in our first team, but you still didn't have him in your first team? Have you changed your mind yet?
You bastard! You're going to throw me under the bus in my own podcast, aren't you? Well, that is true. I didn't select DJ in my first team, and it's not just because DJ's on the podcast now, but
you have said that already this year. You have said it already.
I have changed my mind. I would put him in that starting group, and we didn't really have in my case. I didn't really have a traditional centre in my starting five. I had Kevin Brooks and Mark Davis, if you remember, and I think DJ's body of work is what he's done over his time here is just incredible, and as we keep talking about on the podcast, like Brett's involvement and our involvement with the team, over this last year and a half. You get to see these guys up close, and we've seen a lot more games live than what we have. And I think it's just incredible, with what he's done. So, yes, I stand corrected. I'd put him in my first team, although if I do that, I'm probably going to put KB out of it, and he'd probably punch me in the face when I see him as well. But it's just been unbelievable. And let me tell you one thing. This year, if DJ wins the MVP of the club, which you'd expect on current form that's going to happen, let me tell you, mate, there's one bloke that used to have brown hair last year that's now got white hair. He joins him, and he's getting really shitty because he likes to be the alpha male, and to have someone join him as they're still behind Mark Davis. He's not very happy about that, but no, it's all good. I'm pretty sure he'll get over it.
Well, speaking of that as well, DJ, we've got our own Player of the Year award here on this show, and it's sponsored by Premium Wine Tours. The votes are cast by Scott and Brett Maher, so it's tough to argue with them a lot of the time. And you're now our runaway leader, and that means I don't know if you've been following it, but that means you'll win a tour for 4 on the Premium Wine Tours at the end of the season, should you hold on to win. Is that enough motivation to keep your form going?
Yeah, I think so. The boys are pretty fortunate to have Scotty sell us around once already this year, and he's very good at his job. Gave us some really good spots and good wine to try. So yeah, I'd definitely be very excited to do that. Fingers crossed I can hold on.
Fantastic. Now, I've actually got a few questions from one of our listeners for you as well, DJ. Lauren has sent in some questions on Twitter, challenging ones too. So bear with me. You can also shoot them down if you don't want to answer them. But I'll go through them quickly. The first one, she's asked me to ask DJ, would you be satisfied if you retire having not won a championship, even though clearly he is one of Australia's most deserving players to win one? I think it's probably an easy answer to say no, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you wouldn't be satisfied, would you? But I feel like being a couple wins off winning one on a few occasions, it kind of hurts, but lets you know you were close enough. Obviously, I hope I've still got a few years left in me to try and chase one down, and that'd be the ultimate goal, winning one at the Sixers after such a long break. But we'll keep trying. I think personally I've tried to do the best I could, and if that's not enough to win a championship at the end, that would be disappointing. But I'll still be pretty proud of what I was able to do. Yeah,
and I guess our follow up to that is with that series against Melbourne United. When you look back on it, do you feel like you were robbed from a championship in that grand final series?
I don't know about robbed. It was a really good series. It was up and down, and I really felt that last game could have gone either way. Unfortunately, it was in Melbourne, which really the home team was dominating every game that series. So Obviously, the Childress injury didn't help as well, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. So, yeah, it was disappointing, obviously, but I feel like, with what we got out of that group, it was something pretty special.
And the last one, do you envisage seeing yourself finish your career in Adelaide?
Oh, yeah, I probably at this stage wouldn't play for any other NBL team. It'd just be weird. Sure. So, yeah, like I got, another couple of years after this and hopefully a few more after that. So, yeah, hopefully it's in Adelaide till it all finishes up.
Fantastic.
DJ, I want to talk about, there's been a bit of controversy, quite a bit of controversy about, you're not making the Boomers team for the most part of your career. Has there been any feedback from the Boomers camp as to why you haven't made some of these squads and some of those teams over the years, or is it just been you're not selected and that's it?
I haven't had a lot of feedback really. I think the only time I've really had comments made to me about it was I think when I finally made one of those Asia qualifying tournament teams, and they just said they didn't think that I'd be able to do what I do in the NBL in an international basketball game, pretty much.
No, because who needs a 7-footer that can shoot better than a guard? I mean, seriously.
Yeah. So, I don't know, it was the whole thing was pretty disappointing, to be honest. Kind of the politics involved in it was, pretty frustrating, especially guys making the team that, I felt like I could have, brought more to the table than they were. But, yeah, it just is what it is. One of those things. You can't really control it, so you just got to, keep trying your best. And when you get the opportunity, do the best you can, which I thought I did.
Is that something that pisses you off and drives you forward, or is it just one of those things you go, well, it is what it is, and put it behind it? Like you said, it's something you can't control, and just channel your focus, towards playing on a day-to-day basis with the club.
Yeah, I think early on it pissed me off a lot, and I thought the better I play in the NBL, that'll lead to those opportunities, but that didn't really translate. So just got to the point where I just kind of didn't expect to make them, and it wasn't a surprise when I didn't, even though I felt like I should have been in them. But yeah, it's just one of those frustrating things. But I think I've turned my focus on other things now, and all happy with that.
You've played overseas on a number of occasions. Is that something that you'll still look to do in the off season, or is it now more, as you get a little bit older, about looking after your body in the off season and just resting, or are you open for those opportunities?
Yeah, I think like this season will be pretty difficult. Obviously with all the COVID and the quarantining and all that, so I'll probably give it a miss this year. But I think going forward,
don't know when this season will finish.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. Yeah, so you just can't make plans. But I think going forward, I think that's one of the best things about playing in the NBL and being a professional athlete. You get to travel around the world and not just play a bit more and get some experiences, but you get to when you're actually living there for a few months, experience the culture properly and see some places you probably wouldn't normally see. So it's one of the best things I love about it, is getting to travel around and see some different places. So I'm definitely open to doing that again.
Yeah, Chris, what the best thing about that is it means that DJ will be available for our next holiday camp in July, because he won't be overseas. I'm sure he'd be lovely looking forward to that.
He'll be booking you for that wine tour around the same time too, don't worry.
Exactly, probably planned it that week, I reckon. So just a couple more from me, DJ, before we let you go. Looking through your career highlights, I was a little bit surprised to see that you've led the league in rebounding on 2 occasions. I guess it's probably an area of your game that probably gets overlooked by most people because of your scoring ability. Is that something that you sort of really focus and put a pride on, or is it just something that has come naturally to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always been pretty decent in that area. I'm not, your typical centre pulling down, 15 a game or anything like that. But I think I've always been around that, between 7 and 9 mark. The couple of years I actually led the league, I think the years Randa was in Adelaide, and I knew if I, offensive rebounded, I was
A lot
going
of
to get
missed
more
shots.
shots that way. So, I guess you just adapt your game to who you're playing with. And, I feel like I've been pretty solid in that area for most of my career, and just another way you can help the team, I guess.
Well, there's no one in the league over the last 12 years. You've collected more rebounds and scored more points than anybody. I think that's one of those things that a lot of people overlook. Just maybe it is because you're such a good shooter for your size, but your rebounding has been fantastic for a long time.
Oh, cheers! Thank you.
Just for me, DJ. I mean, I think there's a lot of armchair critics out there, and in this day and age, a lot of keyboard warriors. I just think that when people are critical, this team. I mean, I get a little bit, take a little bit of umbrage to that because I've been involved with the club for so long. But when I see criticism of the club and criticism of people like you, we should be celebrating the fact that we've had you here for this period of time, and mate, you're a testament to the 36ers. You will definitely go down as one of the all-time greats. I've put you in my all-time starting five now. Thanks to Chris throwing me under the bus there. But mate, we just wish you all the best. And mate, I could see you playing for another 3 or 4 years. Is that? Have you thought about the end date, or is it just taking it every year as it comes?
Yeah, I'm just enjoying being able to still play well, I guess. As long as I can still contribute and feel like help us win games, I'm happy to keep doing it. So, hopefully I've got a few more left in me.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for joining us, DJ, and let's look forward to seeing you get a couple of wins now over the next few days, starting with Perth at home tomorrow night, then up in Cairns. It's a team you love playing against, so let's hope that continues as well.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thanks again. Appreciate all the support, boys.
Thanks, DJ.
Good luck, mate.
Okay, thanks to Sports Card World, we're now getting ready for our Ask the Coach segment with Connor Henry. Great supporters of ours, Sports Card World. We couldn't have been doing this show without you. We couldn't be bringing our Ask the Coach segment with Connor Henry to you each and every week without their support. So make sure you check them out at sportscardworld.com.au or indeed in the Region Arcade. Fantastic store. The best card store in Australia quite comfortably. So go check them out. In the Rondon Mall of the Region Arcade. It's a hell of a store. Not only all of your basketball card needs can be well and truly taken care of, but any sort of collector card needs that you've got. So make sure you support Sports Card World. And now let's get on to Connor Henry, because we've got a jam-packed list of questions from our listeners to get through with the Adelaide 36ers coach. Okay, back here on Sixers Fix and looking forward to getting back to our Ask the Coach segment with Connor Henry now for this week. Connor's been kind enough to give up some of his time once again now, leading into the game against the Perth Wildcats on Saturday night. So I guess, first of all, Connor, before we get to the listeners' questions, coming off a win, getting to stay at home for the week, how's the preparations been now for this game against the Wildcats?
It's been pretty good. Not ideal. We've just had to manage a few niggles and continue to rest up. But I think we're in a good spot. DJ and Jack had a couple of days off and now are back at full strength. Croc is improving. He won't play tomorrow. We're hopeful that he will play against Cairns. Josh had a couple of days off and looked really good today in training. And, the optimism that is starting to build a little bit within the club about Isaac's return after Isaac had a good kind of first day of at least running and putting some weight on the floor, on the foot, and he came out of that really in a good way. So all in all, a pretty good week as we head into tomorrow's game.
Very good. Okay, now blown away by the amount of questions we've got now for you this week, Connor. We're not going to be able to get to them all today, but if your question isn't read out this week, don't worry, we'll get to it next week or even the week after. We've got that many questions, but make no mistake, your question will get asked to Connor. That's the promise we make here on the show. So that's
Eventually we'll get there.
Absolutely. And as you've shown throughout this season, no, you're happy to answer any question, whether it's a positive or a negative one. So you've been a great sport with this, Connor. So thank you for your support.
Easy. Yeah, real good, real easy. I'll answer anything.
Absolutely. Adam Ross is first up, and he's asked, I felt the defence against Illawarra was the best we have seen this season from the Sixers. Was that something the team worked on in the lead-up to that particular game, or do you feel like it's a case of things starting to gel at the defensive end?
Both. So we've been working on some specific things the last 2 weeks leading into Illawarra. We felt like we made some strides in a couple of areas, namely our defensive transition and our defensive rebounding, which has been at times, really questionable at times during the season. So we did put together a good defensive effort and defensive rebounding against the Hawks, and we're growing from that, and that's, again, the same focus, again, going into tomorrow night's game.
Excellent. Jason Crow, one of our great supporters, he's sent in a couple of questions. This one's a bit of an in-depth one, so bear with me, Connor, and you can sort of take it in whichever direction you like. So Jason Crow has asked, how hard is it in the current landscape to build a team with players freely moving around the competition? 4 of our starting 5 are new, and then next year we are likely to be without Giddy and possibly Ice if he recaptures his pre-injury form. How do you find the balance between playing for success now and building for the coming seasons?
Well, I think what you see with Perth, with Melbourne, with Southeast, some of the top clubs at the top or near the top, is the ability to each year add a piece or two. And maybe that player is a boomer and then lock him up for a number of years contract, or maybe it's a very good young player that's either come up in the system with that team or they've gone out, targeted that player in free agency and have landed him. So that's the plan as you build something, is to try to get as many top Australian players as you can, not only older veteran guys if they're available on the market, but guys that you feel like can help you right away, hopefully, but also the second year or the third year, they're a vital piece. And those teams that are near the top right now, their overall depth and experience is clear. You can see it.
Yeah.
It allows them to go deep into their roster. They can play 9-10 guys a night and get the job done.
Okay, one more from Jason Crow. With a one-team town like Adelaide, it's fair to say 36ers fans are passionate and often critical. Do you use that negative commentary at times as motivation to try to manage the players, or do you try to shelter them from that?
No, I think the players are pretty in tune with the environment here in Adelaide. Look, there's high expectations from the core fans and the new fans that come in, and they feel this somewhat pressure of wanting the team to succeed because they want to be a part of that. But at the end of the day, you can't focus on that. What you have to do is really look to your daily work. Again, the portion of building team, that we spoke about, how you target guys for the future, and try to wrap it up each and every week when you go into a game. Success is tough in this league. You do need a deep roster. You do need talented imports, and you have to find that mix. And when you do find that mix, you have to be able to sustain it. And that's what Perth's done. That's what Melbourne has done over the years. And that's where we're trying to get to.
Luke Day has asked, what's your current grading of our season so far? And where are our opportunities moving forward? And what do you think we're doing well? And what do you think we can improve on?
Well, based on what we targeted in free agency and the roster that we assembled, we felt like we had the possibility, the chance to have a very competitive season and possibly compete for one of the 4 spots. Unfortunately, with injuries, and we knew that was, part of the chance that we were taking, that if we were to lose one or two key pieces, that it could be tough. Unfortunately, that's the way it's played out. You don't want to make excuses, but that's just part of the game.
Yeah.
Where are we at? Where are we at now? We've taken our lumps. We've been home. We feel like we're regaining our, some of our strength, resting a little bit, building back up through training. Anxious for Isaac's return, and focused on keeping everybody healthy and having a positive look on things. Losing streaks hurt. They bring everybody down. We were able to finally kind of switch our mentality of being, in that hole and working ourselves out of it. And that's where we're at right now. So we feel good. The future, again, if we can get Ice back, in the next probably 2 to 3 weeks, optimistically, we still will have 10, 12 games left, 10, 11 games left. And so if we have everybody and we play well and we win some games, then I'll be able to sit back at the end of the season and grade everything as, all the ups and downs that we've gone through and really make an assessment on what we did correctly and incorrectly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we've got a string of questions now from Lauren on Twitter. The first one, who has been the toughest team for you to coach against so far this season?
Perth probably the toughest just because they relentlessly do the boring things every single night.
Yeah,
there's
you're right. Yeah.
The boring things of being physical, of boxing out, of taking charges, of guarding their man one-on-one. Each and every player knows their role. So they bring a level of physicality over 40 minutes that is very hard to combat. We've been in games with Perth. We faltered down the stretch. So they're probably the toughest. Melbourne is extremely talented. We've played them tough. And then I think the Phoenix really are one of the teams that will contend for the championship. Just because with Wetzel and Moore, they're two bigs getting better and better every year. Every game. Yeah. They've got shooting, and if they get Sykes back, then they have two really good small point guards that cause problems out of pick and roll. And they've got Creek, who's a dominant player, facilitator, leader, and now they have two really good shooters in Brokoff and Glitz. So I like their team. We have had success against them, but I think they're a team on the rise and could be very dangerous for everybody.
Now, I'm going to extend this question out to your entire life in basketball, but you can't choose yourself. So the question is, who would you want shooting free throws to save your life?
Right now, Jack McVeigh.
Yeah, nice choice. Yeah, not bad.
So, Jack has as we know, the mindset of a shooter.
Yeah.
And, he believes that every ball is going in. He's got a locked-in routine at the foul line. I hope I'm not jinxing him now. But if I had, with his free and easy mentality, I might put Jack McVeigh from my team up on that line.
Yeah.
Somebody else, pressure situation. There's plenty of those old pros that I played with. There's a guy, a young college player who I grew up kind of idolizing, left-handed little point guard out of South Central LA named Johnny Daniels, who I once watched make 146 free throws in a row.
Wow.
So he was good. So, yeah, maybe those are my choices.
Does Larry come into the calculations?
Yeah, Larry would be up there.
Now, this is an interesting one. We're seeing some horrible injuries right now, and now we've seen both DJ Vasiljevic and Jack White have their seasons ended in recent days with their Achilles. Do you feel like the NBL Cup or the jam-packed schedule right now has got anything to do with some of these injuries, or is it just bad luck? Do you feel like there's anything happening right now in the way the league's structured that is causing all of the injuries we're seeing?
All I know is when I saw DJ, not only Jack go down the other night, I saw DJ go down last night. I just felt sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
I just, two really good, exceptional players that played at the highest level of college ball in the U.S. who came in and were really, really the two main guys, if you think about it. Jack White had Melbourne playing at the highest level because of his athleticism, because of his smarts, because of his passing, because of his energy. And the same way with DJ. DJ comes in and all of a sudden was known as just a shooter in college, but really improved his game, not only to shoot, but to score off the bounce, score in the middle of the paint. And to have both of those guys go down is just terrible, absolutely terrible. I don't know about the question, Chris. It's like this is a crazy year. Everybody's been under the pump. Guys had such long layoffs and then ramped up quickly and then got into games. Has it taken a physical toll, and is it the reason? I don't know. I don't think it is. I think it's probably just a combination of maybe bad luck and fatigue. I don't know.
Okay, last one from Lauren, and it's about Josh Giddey. It's a three-pronged question. First of all, where do you expect him to go in the NBA draft? Secondly, is he single? And thirdly, does he like older ladies?
See, this type of question that get me in trouble, but I will give you the one answer I know that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Giddey will get drafted. I don't know what number. I don't know what range. He's an exceptional player, as we know. He's getting better and better, and he's got a long, successful career ahead of him. And as far as the other two, I would say yes, and I don't know.
Well handled. Last one, and this one comes from a man that you know very well. His name's Isaac Humphries. And this is a running trend. You might notice it. What does churn the ball mean?
So churn the ball basically means get the ball through hands quickly. Teams come in and they try to defend pick and roll at a high level. So they will hard show or they will double or blitz the ball carrier, and you need to be able to throw out quickly and then continue making the extra pass. So if you churn the offense through passing, good hard cuts, good hard screen, move the ball from one side of the floor to the next side of the floor so you're making the defense work, you have a greater success on the offensive end. So that's what it
makes a lot of sense. But for whatever reason, every time I ask one of your players for a question for you, that's what they want me to ask you. So there we go.
Yep.
Really enjoyed this segment once again, Connor. I appreciate your openness and honesty to answer everything that our fans want to hear, and good luck now against the Wildcats. Good luck once you then get over to Cairns as well, and hopefully we do it all again next week.
Let's do it next week, Chris. Thanks.
Okay, back here on Sixers Fix with Scott Ninnis. I hope you enjoyed that chat with Daniel Johnson, and I think we learned a fair bit more about him in that chat, Scott, and also Connor Henry. Fantastic of Connor to make himself available on this show and to be willing to answer whatever questions that our fans want to ask him. Sometimes they're taking him to task on some of his decisions, but he's certainly open to answering them. But one of his answers just then, Scott, I want to get your thoughts on. He chose Jack McVeigh to shoot free throws if his life was on the line. Who would you like to shoot free throws if your life depended on it? It doesn't have to be a current player. Any player from your life in basketball.
It certainly wouldn't be myself, mate, because free throw shooting was not at the top of my strengths. If my life depended on it, I don't like pumping him up too much, mate, because he.
You're not gonna say him, are you?
Well, I'm probably going to say Brett Maher. Well, no, actually, I'll give you I'll probably give you 4.
Okay.
I'll probably give you Brett Maher, Andrew Gaze, John Rillie, and Shane Hill. I think you're looking at obviously 4 outstanding free throw shooters for starters.
But they all love the big occasion too.
But they love the occasion. You knew if the game was on the line, they were never, ever going to miss. And, I was fortunate enough to go from the Adelaide 36ers to the Townsville Crocodiles to the South Dragons. So I was rebounding 1 year for Brett Maher, the next year for John Rillie, and the next year for Shane Hill. And let me tell you, you didn't have to be too fit to rebound for those guys. All you need to do was stand underneath the basket because the ball was going through that every time. So, those guys just didn't miss, and they had a resolve that, the occasion, that's what they live for. They live for that big shot, and I'll be happy with any one of those guys.
Yeah, no, very, very, very good, very good. Speaking of Jack McVeigh, did you happen to see him I don't know if it was in the warm-up last week or at shoot-around, there's the retro 36er singlet he happened to be wearing. Did you catch a glimpse of that?
Mate, I had all these people sending me that photo as we were driving into the game, and Jack came to me 6 months ago, or Brett and myself, and asked if we had any old singlets. And Brett's donated all his to his charity organisations over the years, so he had nothing. I sort of said to Jack that I thought I might have something, and gave it to him without any thought that he was actually going to wear it. And I've seen TikTok things with him dancing in the supermarket with it on. I've seen that warm up before the game. He's a good egg, Jack. He's that's the sort of guy that you need that as a team. You need those sort of characters who are passionate about what they do. And look, hasn't he had a fantastic 6 or 7 weeks?
Absolutely.
Like he's just you'd think. The most improved award he'd have to be probably favourite for. I know he's got his speech already written for it too. So
he's made that no secret.
No, and that's great. That's
absolutely
fantastic to have those sort of goals. I think is really important. And so I did see the throwback jersey there, and let me tell you, he fits into it a little bit better than I would these days. So better him than me, mate.
Okay, now Saturday night we're back at the Entertainment Centre, and it's against the old foes, the Perth Wildcats, who arrive in town on a 9-game winning streak. They're on top of the league. How do we beat them? How do we knock them off?
Well, we've seen it. We've seen how we can deal with them for a half of basketball, before things went pear-shaped. I guess the problem now is, how you approach that game mentally. Because it doesn't matter how big a lead that we get, we know that they can reel that in. I think we don't have to be up by 20 at halftime. We have to match them for intensity. We have to make Bryce Cotton's life hell. We need to be physical with him, and if that means just throwing various guys at him over the course of the night to wear him down, as we spoke about, that's a good thing. But we cannot have some of these role players stepping up and having 15 points, and we can't. Steindl can't come in and hit 3 threes. You got to be locked into Blanchfield, who's we always known he was a good player, but now is very, very dangerous. And we can't let Mooney have 9 offensive rebounds. I mean, to me, he's the best big guy in the competition. People bang on about Landale and some of these other players, but to me, there's a guy that is a perfect complement, who just goes about his business, and at the end of the day, you look at what he's done statistically, and you just go, wow. So I don't think you stop that, because he's a guy that's got a high work ethic and is going to go to the boards, but you've got to put a body.
Pina just has to contest everything with him. Just
correct.
Yeah, that's all he has to do.
Correct.
Just make him fight for every possession.
But you can't have 9 offensive rebounds. You can't have 5 offensive rebounds. You got to take care of them, and we could be okay. We can match Perth. I mean, but the thing that cannot be stated enough is that they have a mentality now that they're going to beat you regardless of what the situation is. Whether they're down in the game, whether they're down by 20 in a game, they have the confidence. I watched that game against Sydney last night. At no point, well, maybe a little bit early on, but you didn't get the feeling.
I wouldn't have thought they felt like they played well at all. And they still win
the
game.
And it was a shit game. It was a terrible. It was 73 to whatever it was. It was a shit game. Yep. But at no point did I think Perth were going to lose that game. Yeah. And that's a dangerous thing when you have a team that's with that sort of killer mentality. With the best player we've seen in a generation in basketball. With Mooney, who I said I think is the best player in the competition, and as much as it pains me to say it, with a team that's that well coached by Trevor Gleeson, you have to be on song. So, but we can do that. We can beat this team, but it has to be a committed effort, not just physically and not just talent-wise on the court, but mentally as well, because that's where they will absolutely stomp on you if you're not up to the challenge.
It's the possession game, isn't it? That's where those offensive rebounds come into it. So often they just end up taking more shots and taking more free throws than their opponents. There's no secret to what they do. It's just those basic things that they do so well, which is what you have to try to match them in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's hope for the best. We know that Isaac Humphries won't be there. We know Tony Crocker won't be there, but it's not necessarily a bad thing because we've got plenty of options. We know that Keanu Pinder can play a role now. He can stay out of foul trouble. He can help out DJ in that front court. We've got no concerns with what Brandon Paul can do. He'll be better now after a week under his belt. The backcourt with Giddy and Sunday there is fantastic with Dan Dillon backing them up, and then we've got Jack McVeigh to throw in. So there's no shortage of talent out there. So I don't think there's any excuses. Let's hope Perth's feeling tired. They're coming off playing in Sydney on Thursday, then come straight to Adelaide. So let's hope that's taken a bit out of them. But yeah, let's just hope for a good game. When you turn up at the Entertainment Centre tomorrow night, what are you going to be looking for? What signs do you need to see early that this could end up being a good night?
Mate, I'm the glass half full person now. Mm-hmm. I haven't always been that over the last over the journey, the last 10 years. But I'd expect Brandon Paul to have a great game. I think he's settled in. He knows he's going to be starting. I hope we run some stuff for him early, which I'm sure we will. I just think, and just touching back to Bryce Cotton again, you need to make him work defensively as well. So. Sure. Who's he going to guard? If he's guarding Sunday Detch, which I would imagine is probably that matchup, run him off screens and make him work. Even if he's not the focal point of your offense, you've got to tire a guy like that down. You can never stop someone with that sort of ability, but you make his life hard. So I'm looking forward to seeing Brandon Paul really stand out in this game, and I know he'll have confidence going in that he knows he's starting and he's going to play 30 minutes. I'm going for the upset, mate. I think people might think I'm stupid. I haven't looked at the odds. Maybe I put a sneaky dollar on, but I think we can win this game and win well. If there's ever an opportunity, we're getting them at the right time. But who knows? It's one of those things, isn't it?
I don't think it's silly at all. I go in feeling quietly confident as well. I mean, I think everything's kind of adding up to Adelaide being the fresher team, confident. They know that they can play well against this team, and eventually that winning streak has to end. You can't keep winning in this league. We keep hearing how even the league is. We can't have one team that's going on a double-digit winning streak.
No, and let's face it, Kevin White's not going to hit another 30-foot jump shot again. Probably in his entire career, is he? There
we go. Let me finish on that note. What sort of reception is he going to get from the Adelaide fans?
Oh, I don't know, mate. Like I reckon I've seen it as sort of I honestly don't know. Maybe a 50-50 reaction because obviously the way the things ended up and like things went well. I don't think people will be worried too much about Kevin White. I mean, probably going to play 10 minutes and, history will show that last year was not one of the greatest years in the history of the 36ers, but that is what it is. But it's done, like it's a new era. I loved what Joe Wright brought to this team. We had our ups and downs, but he brought a team that had been in the wilderness for a long time. We made two championship series. Unfortunately, didn't win it.
But not only that, got to the deciding game in both of those series too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'd be, I wouldn't be worried about too much about what's happened in the past. I think we celebrate, what's happened, our good times. We've had it's been a long time between drinks as far as championships, but we all know that's that's a difficult thing to put a focus on. But I like the direction where we're going. I think if we can there just needs to be something that brings this all together. And I don't know what that intangible is, but let's go out and beat Perth this week, and maybe we're back on track.
Well said, Scott. Okay, good way to end. So it's been a big show. This has been one of my most enjoyable episodes of Sixers Fix, I think. So thank you to Daniel Johnson, thank you to Connor Henry, and thanks to our supporters. Thanks to All Star Photos. Thank you to Australian Motors Mitsubishi. Thank you to Premium Wine Tours, and of course, thanks to Sports Card World. I'm Chris Pike, and we'll come back next week, hopefully with a couple more winners to talk about. I'll leave you with Scott Ninnis, and what words of wisdom can you leave us with this week?
No words of wisdom, mate. Let's get a win, 36ers. Let's beat those dirty Wildcats. Let's just hope we see a great game, which I'm sure we will. Wildcat 36er games have always been classics. They've always been close games, and let's hope we see that again tomorrow night, but with the result on the other side of the ledger for once.